and I don't know if Tanya on? Tanya Cole, you can wave, everybody knows who Adrian is.
Sherman.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get started. I think we're just missing Austin and
I'm here.
we are. Oh, is that you, Austin? Okay. Your name wasn't. You didn't show up. All right. I'm glad you're here. And maybe Erica Lopez. And all right. Erica's with Emerson Biggins. Okay, a couple of housekeeping things. Thank you all for joining again. Not sure we really needed to have this call, but I think it's very valuable for us to do that to kind of clear up where we're at. I don't know how long it's going to go. I do have a board meeting at 4:00, so I need to leave it in 45 minutes, and then Lacey, as the pro tem, can continue if, in fact, we're not wrapped up by then. Let me just start by, well, I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but yesterday we did extend, as a 5-0 vote, to extend the 11 o'clock to midnight. We had a little bit of internal discussion about it, but and then Dr. Menz did sign the order this afternoon, so it's out there in the public. So everything in the previous order is the same, except instead of 11 o'clock, it's midnight.
Does that start today or tomorrow?
I'm sorry?
Does that start today or tomorrow?
It starts, Tom, it starts at midnight.
Midnight to tomorrow night. So
Starts
yeah.
Friday night.
Yeah.
12:01. It's in effect at 12:01 in about
Tonight.
8 hours. Here's the a little bit of disappointing news to me is that the Eagle, the Eagle's basically saying we did this because of some of the 2 o'clock abuse or whatever you want to call it. And the truth is that I don't think any of the 5 of us that voted on this even talked about that. We had been focused on kind of from our first call the last few weeks ago was that if we can show numbers going down, the cases per 100,000, things like that, we want to move as quick as possible, even though Dr. Menz may have a day out that's out there farther out. So at least you guys know, you all know that the reason we did this is trying to keep our word to you originally that if the community's doing good, then we're going to try to loosen up as best we can with the condolent or with the agreement of the medical community, Dr. Menz and Adrian and the numerous people that they confide in, the epidemiologists. I know there's a lot of saying that it's just Dr. Menz, one person, and I can tell you he's got some very valuable people and very highly respected people in this industry, of who you guys would know some of them, that are really focused on what do they think's best. So I'll just start with saying with that, I wanted to share another thing that I hope it's not repetitive too much to you all, but I know that you have your challenges, so I'm not saying we have any challenges that are larger than yours, but if you look at Sedgwick County, again, we're the second highest population in the state. Johnson's higher, but in Wichita, we're the largest population city. But our hospitals, Via Christi and Wesley and the VA, Veterans Administration Hospital, and even McConnell has a hospital. But we serve multiple counties, and we are on calls every Monday with the hospitals, and they'll give how many people are in ICU and how many people are on ventilators and things like that. But they always say anywhere, depending on the Monday, 20%, they might have 24 people in ICU and 4 on vents, but they'll say, well, and 20% of these are from outside the county, coming from Harper County and Kingman County and all that. So they serve as a regional. We serve as a regional hospital world for the state. Our employers, Spirit, obviously the largest, and others. They have individuals coming across the county line all the time coming to work. the schools. We have 10 school districts in the county, and we have another 8 or so that cross county lines. We've got students going back and forth and families across county lines to the schools. Obviously, shopping and entertainment, which you all are great with the entertainment world. All your clients aren't just from Wichita. They come in from whatever. And then finally, I want to just comment that we're really trying to help Wichita State with remote testing for rapid testing that could be up as soon as October 1st, to where we can get answers for any tests on COVID in a matter of hours, or unless Tim Kaufman corrects me, and maybe hours, or for sure 24 hours. So we're making, and I say this, so we're making great progress. If you saw the Eagle and some others today, so our numbers have been in this 6%. I think that stands for 6% out of 100,000 population. That's how they break some of it down. But we've been doing really good. And if you look at the colors of the counties bordering us, like 3 of the 6 that touch us are in the red, and the other 3 are like we are. And most of those don't have any orders. And so we're in a quasi-danger zone that we seem to be doing good, as Commissioner O'Donnell was saying yesterday, and he's told me, and Adrian can confirm, anybody, we don't know one single thing that helped. It seems like it's a combination of a lot, and even maybe some herd immunity and everything else, who knows. But so I'm saying that in preface that we're in a spot where we're ready for you all to be really open. We really need your help. We really need your help on trying, at least, to have some kind of respectable social distancing. See if you can, have some effort for masking, at least to get in there to their tables. Some of those things, on the 50% capacity, we would love to loosen that up soon, meaning sooner than later. October 21st is the magic date for the next evaluation, but as things change this week, you're seeing that. But it's really prevalent on you all helping us, even sharing it with your managers and whoever your peers are that might, there's a lot of emotion around this. We get it. There's a lot of emotion, and I understand it. And then we also get emotion from a mass crowd that say, oh, if we don't, you got to do it. And in a way, sometimes we even wonder if the market itself may dictate the future. The market itself may say, hey, I'm not in the mood. I'm not going to church until this thing's over, or I am going to go to church. I don't know. But there is market forces at play here. So I've kind of said a lot, but if you all, when we first talked a month ago or so, when we were closed and we wanted to get open, and we said, what can you all live with? How can we get you open? And then we went and talked to Dr. Mins, and Adrian said, this is what they can deal with. And I think we said things like 11 o'clock, 50%. Can we start out? Can we we need to do something to get the doors open to pay some of the bills. Now, I know now that you've been open, some of the bills may not be enough. I don't know what some of the bills is right now. But in that time frame, when we had a couple of people, a couple of places, kind of took a liberty of after 11, then that kind of put a highlight on us, and it's hard for the commission to we want to be supportive of you all. And so that it goes back to my ask that you cooperate with us. We're not in the mood to enforce, as I think Austin, you out at Midnight Rodeo. I mean, there is a letter that Dr. Mins has. It's kind of a standard letter. If there's a violation that's kind of documented by the police department coming in at a certain time and observing, they're the ones that sent some information, and so if there's a letter that goes from him, it's basically going to say, this is the problem we found. Probably the hours closing, or could be something else. This is the problem that was found. And please recognize that the county may, this is on may, take other action. And the other part of that letter is very important, because under the state rules, the state laws, you have immunity from any, as long as you're abiding by the local health officer's rules. So it's in that letter. When I was in business, if that letter would have gotten my attorney's hands, he'd have said, "All right, you better behave, because we've got immunity now, and if we don't do this, if we don't abide, then we don't." So that's kind of I'm just laying all the groundwork out. I've been talking for 10 minutes. So with that, we can kind of go in order. If anybody got something really important, the commissioners are online. They can ask questions as well. And but that's where we're at. Yes, let's just do that like you just did. Just raise your hand and we'll recognize you and start talking. And I'll mute mine as well, okay? Until we get there. All right.
I hope you're talking to me. My name's Alan Brinkman. I own the stop. I'm kind of the one of the guys that pushed it. We have been open for, I think, about a month now, and we have not seen clusters at any of the bars. With our current situation, we appreciate the going to midnight, of course, but, I think as a bar community, we feel like we were the scapegoat, and obviously there's not facts to prove that, and we still feel like we're being held accountable for something that we didn't do, and we're, stuff like that. When is the let's go date? Is that next week? Is that, I understand obviously things change, but can we get a date that says, okay, we can open? That way we can staff up. We can make our orders. We can start promoting and stuff like that. Because, I'll be honest with you, people are going to go out no matter what. I made that point when I spoke one time. They're going to go out, okay? And, you take the same amount of people and you shove them in shorter hours, it doesn't work. Either you're going to have people over capacity, you're going to have people that can't go out, you're going to have people that go into house parties that are unregulated. They can last all night and stuff like that. So I guess at one point we feel like scapegoats still. There's not data to prove that there's clusters in bars or anything like that I'm aware of. And, we kind of want to know when's the go time.
I'll just comment quickly and maybe Tim or Adrian can. There's been a goal, even nationally but locally, to try to get to this 5% of positive cases world. When we were at 13, that was the panic button. And if you've seen the graphs that are various areas, we've been hovering around this. We went below 6%. We were happy that we were at 6, which was encouraging, and then went under 6 for a period of, what is it, Tom or Jim, you might have it, 6, 7, 8 days now. And I think if we have a consistency of a couple of weeks, we've had Labor Day happen almost 2 weekends ago. School's been open at least almost 2 weeks. Those are the two alarming things. And we're still seeing our numbers really constantly. I can't speak for Dr. Menz. Adrian maybe can, what his confidence level is, to where he'd say 2 o'clock would be good, and expanding the capacity. I don't know, Adrian, would you care to comment on that?
I think at this point it would be when we're getting closer to the next ending of the order, when we're going through, school's been in session and we're past Labor Day, that I'm imagining he would be a lot more comfortable at that point of making additional changes.
Okay, Alan, so of course, the commission can make a recommendation like we did yesterday. I think the mood of the commission is, if we see positive stuff, but we'd sure like to continue to push it.
Just to be clear, you guys can override that, right? You can basically, you're the commission is
Sure.
the final.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
It's we've been closed for 6 months, and we definitely, you got to understand, in a non-restaurant bar, you've got basically 9 to 10, that's a kind of a warm-up hour. You've got 10 to 11, that's a little bit, and then 11 to 12, 12 to 1, wanted to, is that's where most of our money is made. So, I mean, yeah, we're paying the bills, but it's not like we're putting a paycheck, and I haven't had a paycheck since March. So things are hurting, man. And it'd be nice to expand little by little, and I'm willing to work with you guys, but 2 o'clock's the magic number when things happen.
All right. How about, can we go to Sandra? Sandra, you had your hand up?
I did.
Sandra.
Kind of going with that. If something happens and say the schools start showing a whole lot of sickness, COVID, is that going to be brought back on us and shut us back down? Because it seems like every time numbers go up somewhere, whether it's the jails, old folks home, schools, it's the bar's fault.
Okay, that's a good question. Can I hand off to Lacey? She's done some nice work on this. Lacey, can you comment on that?
Sandra, thank you for bringing that up. That was one question that I had, and one question that I had, one request that I made was to break down the positive cases by decades. Right now, currently on our website, it's still listed as 0 to 19, 20 to 39, 40 to 59. So I do have some data that I can share with you because that was my main question too. Remember, Tom, we had the question about, well, I don't want all of these schools to be opening up, sports to happen, and one person take the brunt. Now, if you go to our, one industry take the brunt. So if you go to our Sedgwick County COVID dashboard right now, you'll see that the two main brackets of positive cases, one being 20 through 39, is the highest bracket. And I think anybody who knows, when you go to bars, that's kind of the sweet spot for people who visit bars. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with it, but there hasn't been no clusters in bars. So where are these people getting it from?
The funny thing about our contact tracing, and I'd like for Adrian to speak on this too, is people don't have to tell us where they're getting it. If they don't want to answer the question, they don't have to tell us. That was written into HB 2016. So unfortunately, the contact tracing sometimes we just don't know because people don't have to tell us that information. I will say one thing that is very sort of showing to me is the positive cases by age bracket, because we do get that information. Adrian, do you want to speak to that further?
Yes, thank you. So 2 things. We are working on having our demographics as far as age be in line with the state health departments. So they're going to be smaller. So that is in the process. Hopefully that's going to be up there soon. We haven't had clusters in bars. Oftentimes people move from one to the other. What we have, and I'd have to check in the last 3 weeks, I haven't heard anything. But prior to that, there were people that were saying that they were connecting it with particular areas, whether it be Old Town or I went to these 2 or 3 bars. So no, there's not a cluster because we're not connecting it. We can't connect it to this certain place. But going to clubs was the most frequent that was coming up for age groups, for that age group.
Real quick follow-up question. Apple and Google have an app that allows counties and other places to basically use their backbone of their app and create their own to do contact tracing. How it works is basically phones are in touch with each other and it's all private and everything. But anyway, is there anything in the works for Sedgwick County on that?
People would have to agree to that, number one.
Yeah.
And we're able to do contact tracing. And if someone can't identify all the people around them that were in a 6-foot radius for over 10 minutes, then we would put something out to the public. Hey, if you were at this location, this or that time. And we did look at that. I don't know if Tom or Tim or Mike would want to say something about that, but we did look at that. But
So
The city,
the app will do that for you, though. What I'm saying is that if you guys create an app, let's say I get COVID, I put a code into my phone, and it tells everybody that you may have been exposed to COVID automatically. It also tells with data and stuff.
That's
know, so-
voluntary. That's a voluntary thing, right? I mean, we can't force people to utilize that, just like we can't force them to tell us where they're
Right. And
going.
they have to put their information in that app. And so there were a variety of reasons that we didn't go with that. But the contact tracing is happening. And when we're not doing it, the state health department, Kansas Department of Health and Environment we're getting all the information from the cases and sending it to the state, and they have people then following up with them.
Commissioners, I'm going to email you guys some stuff on that, maybe get a little more familiar with it and see if it's worthwhile.
We've
All
looked at those, but
That'd be good. And hey, Justin Brown had his hand up. Let's go with him. I'm going to chat to everybody. If I see somebody, we'll try to say who's next or something like that, if that helps. Justin, you're
Okay.
muted.
Yeah, thanks.
There you
If you look nationally at trends, 20 to 39 seems to be the age group that it's not just Kansas or Sedgwick County. And I would argue that people 20 to 39 are out doing other things besides going to bars. They're just out doing things. I mean, I'm 44 as an example, and I like to stay at home. So, I mean, it's those people, they're more active. They're out in restaurants, other places where they're intermingling with people. So, again, back to what Alan was talking about, it seems a little targeted, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, but just equating 20 to 39 directly to bars seems a little bit unfair. And I've tried to, you can find an article that'll tell you pretty much anything on this. So I've tried to stay, do a lot of NPR and stuff like that. National Geographic had an article out about this just today, I read, and they talked about how that age group, the millennials, the generation after them, are actually spreading it at work and other places, not just bars and restaurants. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
And Justin,
Okay.
to
Well,
that point,
good point.
I'm sorry, Chairman, if you don't mind.
No, I
I think the
No,
very
go ahead.
nature of bars and restaurants are to consume things, whether you're eating or drinking, which won't allow you to wear a mask. Most times, these are social gatherings. These are places where people go to be social. They go to interact. I mean, personal experience, I bebop around at bars. I don't like to stay in one place. And I think, would you say that majority of people are kind of like that? I mean, people do go to sit with their friends and they just sit with their friends. But I think we all know behavior in these places, especially when there's alcohol involved, sort of inhibitions go out the window. Not all the time, but we've been in enough bars to understand how they work. So I think that's the other thing, Justin, and is that these social establishments are designed to be social.
Hey, can I know I didn't see anybody with their hand up right now, but Austin, Henry,
Sandra had her hand up.
It's okay. I can wait.
Sandra, sorry about that. I just
I
wanted,
can wait,
Austin,
go ahead.
Austin, I just wanted to give a shout out to you for working with Tom and in the city on last weekend and coming to making the adjustment. I just want to personally thank you. I know it was a stressful time for many. So
no problem. It's a very hard decision to make, and it was very hard to speak to you guys, knowing that we have been over here sitting on the sideline, watching other businesses open up past 11 o'clock, and nobody enforcing or doing anything about it. You have a brand new entertainment district that just launched on the east side of Wichita, and I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to call them out, but they're located on the east side, and they're specifically a game room, and I think we all kind of know what I'm talking about. And ever since they recently opened up, they've been open every day until 2 a.m., and that just makes it kind of unfair to the bar and nightclub industry, how a place like that is able to stay open and we're not able to stay open. I agree with Justin about the 20 to 39, that it's very, targeted to our industry, when the 20 to 39 are the people that are like actively, going out. But we knew that there was a very big risk of us receiving that letter, even though that it was a voluntary order to not comply. That was a very hard decision. for us to close at 11 o'clock. You know, here we are, so excited that we now have support from other bar and nightclub owners on you know, staying open and making money for our businesses. You know, the highlight has kind of gone away from Fever Nightlife, which is another establishment that we have chosen to continue to keep closed. And the reason why we're keeping that facility closed is because, again, as mentioned earlier, we don't get a lot of traction. We open up at 9 p.m. 10 o'clock hour, people start to kind of trickle in. There's hours where I don't have anybody in the 9 o'clock hour. Some weeks we do and some weeks we don't. You know, 10 o'clock hour, people start to trickle in, but we double our admission from $5 to $10 after 11. Obviously, the reason why we do that is to try to entice people to come out a little bit earlier, and it doesn't matter. The reason why it works for, you know, other facilities downtown is a lot of other, you know, places that are in the same industry as me are bars that are a lot smaller venues than us. We have a capacity of 729 people, and nobody is going to come out early. You know, I've been even talking to the bar and nightclub, you know, industry people downtown because obviously I am not downtown right now. I've been over at Midnight Rodeo trying to make some money for that place. You know, Midnight Rodeo, we open up at 7 p.m. The country community coming out, obviously. They come out a little bit
Austin, you're kind of breaking up.
earlier.
Austin,
And
okay.
Am I breaking up still?
Yeah, no, you're back. You're back.
Okay. All of my properties are large, so I'm in a very unique situation from everybody else where, you know, I'm not saying that anybody else is in the green by any means, but I'm willing to bet that my place is probably in the most red next to Wave, just because of the size of our facility. So obviously, you know, seeing other businesses in our industry, not in our industry, stay open past 11 has been really painful to watch. And then to get a note on my door saying that I'm not abiding by a voluntary order, that was a really tough decision to make, to shut down at 11 o'clock. But we said to ourselves, you know, what's one more weekend gonna hurt? Let's not look like the bad guys. Let's not make it look like we're going against the county. And
Yeah.
I also want to bring this up real quick. And I know that this is kind of a city thing as well, but I just want you guys to be aware about it. We pay parking fees for downtown. Right now, if I was to open up my downtown establishment, by having to pay DJ, open up the doors, cool the place, heat the place, hire the staff, we're going to lose more money, and most likely we're going to lose more money than what it's worth, because a place like Fever relies on volume. And we've chosen, even though that you guys have allowed us to be open until 11 o'clock midnight, we've chosen to stay closed because that's what's just best for our business right now. If we were to open, we'll be spending more money than what we're making, and we actually save money by keeping our doors closed. One of the things that I want you guys to be aware of is back in March, when we shut down in the middle of March, we graciously paid our parking dues for the entire month in full, even though that we were shut down till the 15th. I know that the parking comes from the city, but the parking that we have to pay is 100% not cheap by any means. We've continued to get bills for the full amount, not even for a partial or like a partial amount, because we're only being able to operate until 11 or 12 o'clock. And now I'm a little bit nervous that with all the bars and nightclubs opened up and us choosing to stay closed, I'm nervous that next week when they have this discussion that they're going to come back and tell us that we still have to pay because we voluntarily have continued to keep our business downtown closed.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. I know the parking is an issue. I don't know for sure, but I think some of the maybe that's an expense that can be applied in the CARES money to get refunded. I'm not sure. That goes into the CARES world. And anyway, I think, did Sandra have another question?
I do. My question is, so you're saying the end date is the 21st of October, is that correct?
Right.
So
Correct.
if the number's still going down and you guys meet weekly, can we look at moving us to 2 o'clock sooner if the numbers stay down?
Well, from my perspective, yes. We did it this week based on the numbers being down. But
I mean, I don't like the 50% capacity, but if we got to stay there, if we could stay open till 2, keep our 50%, the mask, whatever, I think everybody would be willing to work with that.
So 2, as a group, 2 o'clock would be your desire more than if you could still, the 50, but more 2 o'clock more so than the 50%. And,
Well, yeah.
And Darren Grieving was wanting to talk to Griving, sorry.
Okay.
Let's finish up. Okay. Darren?
Thank you, Pete. I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that you guys had brought up. I think you saw businesses opening at 2, not as a defiance to your orders. I think as a necessity at this point. We've lost revenue for so long, and some of us are about to lose everything we've ever worked for. You've heard me, plead with you guys before that if there was if the language spoke to voluntary, we're not going to voluntarily put our children on the street and ourselves. So I think that's until that word voluntary. I think that some of the media had inflamed it to saying we're some defiant, businesses were being defiant, and it kind of made it us versus you guys, and it wasn't the key. That wasn't the nature whatsoever. I wanted to touch on that a little bit because it was just because of that wording that some of us are really just scraping to get any revenue we can at this point. So, because the banks don't care, they really don't. Let's talk about the regional stuff. We were talking about a regional medical center, or how we're a regional, hub for surrounding counties because of our size. The people that are coming in from those counties aren't, and I know we've touched a little bit about the age range, but they're not coming in because they're going to bars or restaurants at those in the states. And these other places don't have the restrictions that we have. Butler County doesn't, Sumner County, I said that, but even the places where people are actually coming in for medical treatment because of COVID, it's not because they were at restaurants and bars. I like to look at the numbers and data and statistics. One thing that I do need to point out to you guys, as long as I read this correctly, our numbers went down, but it looked like we went from 10 or 11% down to, I think it was 2%. So, we've said this from day one, the more you test, the more you find. What we do want to see is the death rate's low, and that's what we're seeing. That's an absolute. You can't argue that. We know if someone's dead. We can't say, well, we can assume that the rest of the county has this if so many test positive. What we're seeing is that people are recovering from this. I personally finally know several people that have had it, not from going to bars, but they've had it, they've recovered, and they're living their lives now. What I think we need to do is stop targeting our industry when there's no data to specifically show that we're the issue. And I know that's really hard to do, especially when the information is voluntary, but at the same time, before you have anything that says, yes, these bars and restaurants are spreading, super spreaders of COVID, and the people that are getting it are dying, you're killing us financially and mentally and in our health. You're the Board of Health also. You're destroying us mentally and financially. And that effect, I would argue to you, is probably greater than the amount of fatalities that are, I'm not discounting fatalities, but I'm saying the amount of people that are being affected this are thousands of people. So I think we need to look at beyond just an infection rate and beyond just, well, if people drink, their inhibitions get, a little loose. And I think we need to stick to the numbers and get us back open till 2, because we cannot operate. I brought up, it's like running a breakfast restaurant from 10 to 2. I mean, it's just, you get a couple stragglers in, but we can't pay our bills that way. Thanks, guys.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and Darren, I guess I introduced it just to just remind us all that we're kind of an isolated, geographically as Wichita and Sedgwick County, we serve a wide variety. We're not just by ourselves. And so I totally agree. Somebody with COVID's not coming in and from another county just to go to your bar. And I get it. So I was just kind of trying to do a little more global, but thank you for clarifying that. That was helpful for me.
Hey, 1 second. I was saying that people aren't coming in because from other regional, from Hayes and everywhere, they're not being flown in because they got COVID at bars and places that don't have the restrictions we have. I'm sorry, I'm done.
No, you're right. Hey, Emma, you're at Mort's. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Hello. I wasn't in the first meeting, but our stance is pretty much the same. We're happy with we're maybe a little different, but we were happy with the 11. We're happier with midnight. Our big thing is we don't want to get shut down again. So we don't want it to, get open all the way up and get to a situation where it's a yo-yo situation. So we'd rather it be a fluid, keep us at a place where we can operate. 50% works, 70% would be better, but definitely not a yo-yo. Get to have to go back to 11, 70%, 100%, back to 50. We'd like to operate at a safe place.
Okay, that's a valuable comment, Emma. I think the commission doesn't want to try to do the yo-yo impact either. And for the rest of the group on here, you're much more eloquent speaker than Mr. Morty Sheets is. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We chose it a little bit different. I mean, we did choose to close because things were getting a little out of, the numbers were going up to a place that we didn't want. But it really is, it's a community thing. We want the community to be in a safe and good place. Not only, it's for my staff, it's for my customers, it's for everybody.
Yeah. Alan, you got something you wanted to add? Brinkman?
Just something I wanted to add. I poured over the bill 2016. Just something I'd like you guys to read before next meeting is section 27. It basically goes to explain that unemployment is very, one of the highlights that I have here is that public policy state has declared that to be follows economic insecurity due to unemployment is a serious menace to health, morals, and welfare of the people of the state. Involuntary unemployment is therefore a subject of general interest and concern that requires appropriate action by legislature to prevent its spread and lighten its burden. I think, you're giving Dr. Mims all this power, and that's great, but we also need to look at the other side of how this affects the world, how it trickles down and stuff like that, just as much as we need to. So, when you guys are making your recommendations, please keep that in consideration. These people, our staff has been out of work for 6 months. There's no more unemployment. It's getting to a point where people are losing their houses. People are it's bad. Okay. And it's in your guys' hands. And I want you guys to think about it as this may happen but unemployment is happening. So we've got a way to just weigh it out is what I'm asking. So.
Okay. Yeah, Darren.
I just have one quick thing to point out. I mean, we've grouped all bars and restaurants together like they're the same size. I mean, you have Snug Harbor on the east side that probably holds 30 people, and then you have the big monsters like that Austin manages. I mean, we were talking about age demographics that the most that have it right now are 20 to 39, which is a huge age gap because they could all be 21. They all could be, towards the top of that 39. But our demographic is 36 is the median. Most of our customers are, over half of them are probably out of that demographic, and we don't hold that a ton of people. It really frustrates me when you drive by West Urban and it's packed, and you've seen the passion in sports, especially when it's your own child. People are yelling, and they're maskless. And then you go by and you're like, well, my doors are locked, or you drive by the Sedgwick County building on 21st and Ridge, same place we went. And I know it's an outdoor farm and art market, but it looks like the county fair in the 80s when it was packed. It's just people everywhere. We do have outdoor spaces if that's the will of the commission. We can use, some of us, but I'm just saying, instead of grouping us all together, it would be nice for you guys to say, well, this is what we think the danger areas are, and how can each specific business, try to operate so we don't put you out of business, but everybody can be safe. That's all we're asking, is that we're not all grouped together as one, because every single one has different types of clients, different sizes, different entertainment they offer, and we're willing to work with you guys. We just don't want to lose everything.
Yeah, all right. That's helpful. This has been helpful for me to hear. I don't know if Commissioner Dennis or Commissioner Howe want to say anything, add anything.
I think Justin Brown wanted to talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Justin, I'm going back and forth on this stuff.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Justin. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. I would just kind of echoing what a couple of other owners have said. Just as you guys look at these decisions, it seems that the health has been the primary, the medical health has been the primary focus. I would just ask you think about the social health. For one of my places, Darren mentioned it, Snug Harbor. That is the social interaction for that group. It's an older crowd that goes in there. Social health is something that's very important. You've seen all the numbers about depression, suicide, everything that goes along with that. And, to brag a little bit too, another one of my spots, we have music, entertainment. That's a big part of the community. For some people, not to overstep, but, that is their church, going to see a concert, going to do something like that. And then the other obvious factor is economic, just not from a business standpoint, but from an employee standpoint. We just pointed out the 20 to 39-year-olds are out and about doing things. Well, those are the ages of people that work for me. So when they make money at my place, they go out and they spend money elsewhere too. So there's a massive economic impact, I think, that goes along with us being closed down. And just one more point to the health. Over the last 50 years in America, for every 1% that unemployment has gone up, 38,000 people die. They pass away because of poverty, depression, whatever. So, there are some hard medical numbers that even tie back to economics. So those two factors, the social and economic, I just ask that you consider those along with the health, which I'm not trying to downplay. I just wanted to point out those two things.
All right. Appreciate it. Can I, I've got to depart, but if you guys want to wrap it up, I think it'd be valuable to hear from the other commissioners and Tom Stoltz, the county manager, obviously knee deep in everything. We're hearing Adrian answer questions if you have them, and we can continue this. If there's anything that I need to be knowing, you've got my email address, and most of you got my phone number too. I can't thank you enough for this input, and it's very, very valuable.
I don't know if you heard this, but in my opinion, and bar owners, raise your hands, I think you were correct that time is more concerning than capacity to us. would you rather have 2 o'clock, 50% or 60%? Yeah, because we can't operate. We can't get the numbers. We're happy to keep people separated and use our security and masking and tools and everything, whatever you guys need us to do. But that hour is the only way we survive.
Okay, very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Pete, I'm going to say something so you can get off. But
okay. Thanks, everybody.
I think.
Thank you.
This is Michael O'Donnell. The goal was, and the reason why we pushed it an hour yesterday, the goal is to get you back open until 2 o'clock. And so we're going to monitor that. That's not lost on us. We're going to continue to move in that direction to try to get you to 2 o'clock. So we're just going to take this on a week to week basis and see, hopefully, numbers continue to go down. And next week we can move to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So I think everybody has the same goal. And I was delighted to see all 5 commissioners yesterday and Dr. Mins all agreed. So I appreciate you all getting on the phone and talk. I've talked to many of you offline as well. So I just appreciate your patience and willingness to work with us.
Yeah, no problem. And I'd just like to quickly say before we wrap up, I think that Darren over at Blue hit the nail on the head there, that, you know, it's more about getting us open until 2 a.m. We're okay with 50% capacity as of right now. My building is 1650 is the capacity on my east side location, and I'm barely pushing 400. And that's just because it's self-regulated. Nobody is coming out. We've even cut down the cover charge on what we charge at the door, and are discounting people because they're not able to party. So why should we charge them, you know, full price for our admission when we're not even open that long? And we've done that, and we're still seeing just a huge decline of people that are even coming out to our facility, which should not be the case for a brand new facility that just had so much money dumped into it. And we all know that people love anything new in Wichita, and there's so many people that have not been able to or have chosen not to come out to check out what we have brought to the table at Midnight Rodeo here in Wichita. And I know that probably the biggest thing is because we're not open until 2 a.m. and people don't want to go out for that short period of time when we're able to make the most of our money.
Thank you, Austin. Commissioner Howell, did you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you for the chance to speak. I may not agree with my colleagues too much on any of this. I think the hour restriction needs to stop entirely. I would advocate for removing this from the order entirely. Dr. Mins has this letter drafted, ready to go, that can deal with aspects of the order. And it can be tailored for things such as gathering limits or mask wearing or whatever. It doesn't have to be based on hours. But I think there's been a presumption that the hours is the problem. Again, this is an opinion. It's not science. We talk about causation and correlation. There is really not a way to prove that this is the cause of this particular demographic getting COVID-19. And I think it's unfair for us to make the assumption that this is the problem. And so I would much rather see kind of a free market approach to this. And I think all businesses should be treated the same. If any business out there is disregarding aspects of the order, then they ought to receive the same letter, regardless of who they are or what they do. But I think for us to treat all businesses the same, we shouldn't make the assumption that bars and clubs are specifically the issue, and we do and to institute different rules for them specifically. So I disagree with it. I think we've made a leap of logic here. I would like to see us remove this aspect of the order as soon as possible. I do expect whatever order is out there that we would see compliance, and if we see non-compliance, we have tools in our toolbox to deal with that. In the meantime, I don't think we ought to be picking on any particular business, and so I would like to see us remove the hours aspect of this order entirely. I think it's unfair. I don't know that my colleagues agree with me at all, but we do. By the way, we do have the authority. Commissioners just need to make a decision and decide that this is what we want, and we can do that. So that's my perspective and my position. Appreciate the chance to listen to everybody speak today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. Commissioner Dennis, did you have something you'd like to add?
Thank you, Commissioner Cruz. I appreciate it. First of all, I appreciate everyone being able to speak to us, or we can talk very professionally about what's going on in your businesses, and you can hear from us on what we're seeing. Second of all, I agree with Commissioner O'Donnell. If you go back here to the first part of July, you'll see that our rates were very high. Since that time, it continues to decrease. Today, it's not much higher than 5%. It's closer to 6%, I guess. But the numbers are going in the right direction. That's one of the reasons that we made the decision 5-0 yesterday to move it to midnight. If these numbers continue to go, we meet every week. We can move back again. I hear you very clearly. I took a lot of notes, and I hear that your time is more concerning than capacity right now. So I don't have a problem at all in addressing this next week as we continue to watch the numbers. They're going the right direction. If everyone continues to do what we're hoping happens, I would love to see businesses open. We have two goals. One is to get all of our businesses back open, and one is to get our kids in school and keep them there. So as long as we're meeting those two major goals, I'm pleased. Thank you for being here again. I appreciate the feedback.
Thank you, Commissioner Dennis. Adrian or County Manager Tom, do you guys have anything you'd like to add to this conversation?
No, I don't. Just thanks for everybody, your comments. We will tell Dr. Mins of your concerns. I just appreciate the format. Thank you.
And I think it's important to hear that your desire to be 50%, if not, you don't want to be 50%, but if you have to choose, that being open until 2:00 is makes a big difference for you, and that 50% is not optimal for you, but something that you would be willing to look at complying with because of the revenue that you're able to make until 2:00.
I also, Lacey, sorry, I wanted to just come in. The app research that the gentleman talked about pretty early in the conversation, the county and the city both looked at that app. I don't think any of our elected officials at that time, and I'm talking all the way back in May and June, we had this discussion. I don't think any of our elected officials were any too anxious to have a government sanctioned follow everybody around device on their phone. And just, it didn't seem prudent, I don't think. So we have researched that very carefully, and I think it came down to a personal privacy kind of issue, and we never pursued it after that. So we have all the data on that. We did take a serious look about it. We did talk about it publicly, and I know the city did as well. So just to comment on that, that we have looked pretty deeply into that.
Well, and to that point, thank you, Tom, for discussing that. I did receive word from one of our attorneys that says even if we want to do that, HB 2016 would prevent us from using that app, even if people opted in. Yeah. So I think that that's important. I know that there's a lot of confusion around. I mean, there's a lot of documents floating around, and some of them are hard to understand. So just in closing, I would love to see every single person open at full capacity until 2 a.m. Absolutely. But I also, when I hear our physicians on these calls every single Monday, and I hear how tired they are and how many of our nursing staff and medical community are out and taking care of the patients is very taxing. So I appreciate all that you guys have done. I hope that, Darren, I know you guys just did some renovations to Blue, so I hope people will get out and check those out. Also, Austin, I'm looking forward to seeing Midnight Rodeo. But I appreciate it. I understand firsthand what the nightlife community in this community, what it means to the culture, what it means to young folks, what it means to every person who visits these places. So as always, I'm happy to chat. I'm looking forward to open everything up, and I'm really happy to support that if the numbers keep going down. So anybody else have anything else to add before we close this out? All right, friends, thank you so much for your time. As always, reach out to us if you need something.